It has been 6 years since the seed was planted for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and a month since part 1 of the giant crossover event left us hanging. But this week it is back, and we finally know the fate of Oliver Queen and Barry, Kara, Sarah, and everyone else. We've also got a glimpse of their future, which looks pretty promising. But be warned, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to know what happens, turn back now. Welcome back to The Binger. So, after the month-long break, the Crisis returned with the promise to tie up not only this event, but years of Arrow. When we last left our heroes, they had escaped to the Vanishing Point, a safe zone where the Anti-Monitor couldn't reach them. Oliver Queen had sacrificed himself for the greater good, and the Anti-Monitor was continuing to destroy every planet in his path. At the start of the two-part finale, Oliver comes back as the Spectre to guide the Paragons. He meets them at the Vanishing Point, where, it turns out, Kara and the gang have all spent months getting on each other's nerves and not saving the world or worlds. While the Flash ran into the Speed Force to try and find a way out, he meets them at the Vanishing Point, where it turns out Kara and the gang have all spent months getting on each other's nerves and not saving the world. While the Flash ran into the Speed Force to try and find a way out, which he couldn't. But then Oliver gets back and they hatch a plan. They try to go back in time to stop the very creation of the Anti-Monitor, which doesn't work out. After some advice about memory and connections, the Flash takes a journey down the Arrowverse memory lane, which is a kind of tribute to Arrow and the universe it created. Anyway, after that, and after a very cool cameo that we'll get back to later, is the final battle, which takes place at the dawn of time. The Paragons take on the Shadow Army, while Spectre, aka Green Arrow, does his best to fight the very powerful Anti-Monitor. This fight turns out to be about way more than just beating the bad guy. It turns out that as he locks arms with the Anti-Monitor and shoots blue beams out of his eyes, Oliver is recreating the multiverse. He channels the power of his friends, who have by now got rid of those shadow guys, and defeats the Anti-Monitor, creating a singularity that splits the universe back into a multiverse. But channeling enough power to recreate the Big Bang turns out to be too much for the immortal Oliver Queen, who actually passes away this time. We think. Then, in the second episode, everyone goes back to a sort of normal. In this new normal, the whole timeline has been funneled onto the much simpler Earth Prime. Everyone now lives here together, and it's much easier to keep track of than all those other many Earths. Anyway, Lex Luthor gets the Nobel Peace Prize, Marv Wolfman, the writer, makes a cameo, and everyone grieves over Oliver for a split second before the Anti-Monitor returns with his army of Harry Potter shadow demons. A second battle ensues, in which the Anti-Monitor grows very big. Although it seems kind of hopeless at first, and he swats everyone away like flies, they eventually beat him with a shrink bomb. It's like a little ball that, once thrown at him, shrinks him and traps him in a microverse forever. So, peace is restored. At this point, we begin to see how the Arrowverse will move forward without Green Arrow. On TV, the president gives a speech explaining what happened to the general public, and thanking Oliver in particular for his sacrifice. And then the show takes us on a space tour through the reconstituted multiverse that gives us even more future clues about the Arrowverse. We see a Green Lantern universe with what looks like thousands and thousands of Green Lanterns all converging around a big Green Lantern. This will undoubtedly mean that a Green Lantern will show up soon, maybe with his own show. Probably this will be John Diggle. Even the DC Universe web series Doom Patrol gets its own shout out here, with the whole cast dancing in front of the Chief's mansion. There is also a Titans Earth, which, if they're showing it here, will no doubt mean that the DC Universe is becoming much more interconnected and maybe even more intentional. And it's here that the finale of Crisis gives us a preview of not just the next crossover, but maybe even the next show. In an emotional scene, the gang, all on the same Earth now, gather to pay tribute to Oliver and his sacrifice. The meeting takes place in what we think is just an old, dilapidated Star Labs warehouse. There's the famous Green Arrow suit displayed on a mannequin in a glass case, and behind it hangs an American flag. Assembled in front of the tribute case are the Martian Manhunter, Batwoman, Sarah Lance, Supergirl, Barry Allen, Black Lightning, and Superman. A few of them, first Kara Danvers, followed by Barry Allen, and then Sarah Lance, walk up to the glass case and give little messages of thanks to the late hero. After Supergirl lights a flame with her laser eyes, Barry leads them over to a table covered by a cloth, which turns out to be the new Justice League table. Each of the heroes have their own chair with their own insignia on it, including Green Arrow. This means two things. One, there's going to be a CW Justice League. Could it be a standalone show, or maybe a foundation for future crossovers? Our bet is on the latter. Then, there's the Green Arrow chair. It could be a tribute to Oliver, a way to remember him after he's gone, but more likely is that there will be a new Green Arrow. With 2 episodes left in Arrow and Oliver Queen officially gone, something has to happen. This means that somehow the torch or the quiver is going to get passed down. Who will be the next gen Green Arrow based on what we've seen so far? It will probably be Oliver's daughter, Maya. And then there's another big reveal, although this one might be confusing for people who weren't watching cartoons in the 70s and 80s. After Barry has revealed the fancy new furniture and the group has had their heartfelt moment, the music stops and we hear the sound of a monkey.
Sounds like we need to call pest control.
The camera pans towards the back of the warehouse, past some old disused crates and cages, settling on one. Its door is swinging open, and stuck in that door is a banana peel. As you can see, the door says the name Gleek on it. But who is Gleek? He's the pet sidekick of the old cartoon heroes, the Wonder Twins, Zan and Jaina, of the Super Friends cartoon, as well as their own show. Gleek is a blue monkey who wears a supersuit and is very good at ping pong.
Looks like Gleek made the champ a jump.
In the show, he was mainly meant as comic relief and would end every episode with some sort of gag, just like they did in the Crisis finale. Gleek's inclusion into the Arrowverse could also mean that instead of getting the Justice League, which apparently presents some licensing challenges, we could get an all-new version of the Super Friends. Although we knew there would be cameos from across the Arrowverse and from some of the notable DC shows of the past, no one thought they would take it this far.
Found Barry Allen. No! What does that mean? How can this...
This should be impossible now.
It should be impossible now?
You don't know about the...
Oh my god, don't do this to me. I don't know about the what.
Tom Welling, Brandon Ruth, Kevin Conroy, and Burt Ward were impressive enough, but their characters all exist either in past movies and shows or in cartoons and video games. Their cameos are just that, cameos. There's no way they could have possibly changed the outcome of DC's future. But Ezra Miller's Flash is a whole other story. He appeared first in the DC Extended Universe Justice League movie in 2017, and ever since there have been rumors that he would get his own solo film, which has yet to materialize. But thoughts of a standalone Flash now seem almost insignificant because Miller's Flash has brought the DCEU into the Arrowverse. He appears in Star Labs out of nowhere, giving Grant Gustin's Barry Allen a bit of a scare. Miller's Flash, after a second, starts to rationalize the surreal experience of seeing the TV version of himself. He asks Gustin's Flash, "Is this cosplay?" And eventually they realize that they are in fact each other. And as the movie Flash liquefies into nothing, he says, "I told Victor this was possible." For those of you who restrict your DC watching solely to the TV screen, Victor is Cyborg, another character in the Justice League film. In that movie, there was no explicit mention of the Arrowverse or the possibility of a crossover. But Zack Snyder has famously said that his cut of the movie, which has not seen the light of day, is very different from the one shown in theaters. With this in mind, some have speculated that his version tied into the Arrowverse somehow. Either way, the implications are huge for the future of both the DCEU and the Arrowverse, or whatever it will be called without Green Arrow. Did you think Crisis on Infinite Earths tied up the necessary loose ends? And did it leave the right ones untied? What are you most excited about in the Arrowverse's future? Let us know in the comments, and as always, subscribe to The Binger for more.